Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down everything that just went down today, and man, oh man.
This chapter provided the answer we were looking for, the one that changes everything about this little detour.
It really does. The sun god isn't some ancient deity. He isn't some powerful new emperor. He's one of Hajrudin's own crew, acting behind his back. Are you kidding me?
A rebellion from within the Grand Fleet's ranks. This is more complicated than a simple villain.
Okay, let's back up and go through the whole thing. There is so much to talk about.
Let's. We open right where we left off, with the Straw Hats on the run and this sun god figure absolutely losing his mind. The little people in his block world are begging him to stop, but he's screaming about how he can't forgive what they've done.
The energy right at the start is just electric. You can almost hear it, the rumbling of the giant footsteps, the panicked squeaking of the little block people, and this booming, furious voice echoing everywhere. The sense of scale and chaos is just incredible. And this guy is just throwing a massive tantrum, smashing his own creations.
It's a very revealing kind of anger. It's not the cold, controlled rage of a crocodile or a Lucci. It's the fury of a child whose toys have been broken. He's not angry that his plan is failing. He's angry that his playthings are not behaving as they should. It immediately frames him as someone deeply immature, despite his apparent power.
Exactly. And I love this little moment from Luffy. Even while he's running for his life, he's like, wow, this guy put a lot of work into this block world. Let's try not to wreck it. That's our captain, always appreciating the craft, even when the craftsman is a total weirdo trying to trap him.
It speaks to his character. He's not just a force of destruction. He has a fundamental respect for passion and effort. He saw it in Katakuri's dedication to his fighting style. He saw it in Iceberg's love of shipbuilding. Here, he recognizes the artistry in this prison, and a part of him can't help but admire it. It's that unique worldview that allows him to connect with people on a level that no one else can.
You're so right. He sees the effort, the passion someone put into their creation. It's why he'd never disrespect a shipwright or a chef. Even if this guy is a total creep, Luffy's first instinct is cool castle before it's let's punch it. And while he's having this moment of artistic appreciation, Nami is, of course, a step ahead. She tells Luffy they're following the blueprints, then just tosses them.
That was a powerful moment for her. Think about Nami's history. Her defining trauma involved being forced to draw maps, to create blueprints for a tyrant in Arlong. That skill was a chain around her neck. Here, she uses that same innate talent, photographic memories, spatial awareness, as an act of defiance. She absorbs the enemy's entire plan in an instant and then discards it like trash.
That was so cold. She's like, yeah, I memorized the whole thing. Just run straight. Queen energy, absolute navigator genius. She basically downloaded the level map into her brain and is now leading the party on the perfect speedrun. She didn't just find a path, she became the path. Super!
But the sun god isn't done. He throws a massive net made of steel wire over them. He says the room is a detention center designed to hold even giants.
And you see his logic there, right? As a giant himself, the strongest thing he can imagine needing to restrain is another giant. So in his mind, a giant-proof trap is an everything-proof trap. He thinks he's just checkmated them. The sheer arrogance.
It's a classic villain mistake in this world, underestimating the Straw Hats based on their size or their reputation. He sees Luffy as a little human who happens to be a Yonko. He doesn't understand that the titles don't even begin to cover the reality of their power.
And then, swing, Zoro and Sanji just cut right through it like it's made of paper, no effort. That moment was awesome. This god is sitting there thinking he's laid the ultimate trap, and they don't even slow down. It was less of an obstacle and more of a brief metallic breeze.
It's an immediate recalibration of the threat level. What this person considers a giant-level problem is a minor inconvenience for two commanders of a Yonko. The visual of Zoro's sword and Sanji's flaming Diable Jambe kick slicing through the net simultaneously, without a word exchanged between them, it's a perfect illustration of their synergy and their post-Wano strength.
They are so in sync. That's what gets me. There's no, hey, you take that side, I'll take this one. They just move. They know what the other is going to do. And this god was so shocked. He's like, how did they cut through that? You can feel his entire worldview cracking in that one moment. He thought he was the puppeteer, and his puppets just cut their own strings without even looking.
His shock is what leads to the next mistake. He's so flustered that his focus shifts and he sees the broken cage, the skeleton of the ear god, and totally loses it. He was so caught up in trapping the Straw Hats that he didn't realize they'd already freed one of his prisoners, so to speak.
And we get the reveal. The ear god wasn't a god at all. It was a giant rabbit called a Glutbunny.
A Glutbunny? That name is so evocative. I wonder if it's native to Elbaph. It sounds like something out of a fairy tale, which would be fitting. We know Big Mom's crew had members from all over. Maybe this is a creature from an island she controlled. Or perhaps this collector has been traveling for a long time, gathering his pantheon from various locations. I'd love to learn more about that creature someday.
A Glutbunny? That's insane. So this whole pantheon of gods he's built, they're just animals he's trapped in here? This guy's weirder than I thought. He's not a priest, he's a zookeeper who got way too into his theme park. The sun god, the ear god, what's next? The nose god is a giant elephant? The foot god is a giant centipede? It's so goofy and yet so sinister.
He's not a god, he's a zookeeper, or more accurately, a collector. It's a specific pathology we've seen before with a different flavor. Gecko Moria collected shadows, Hogback collected bodies. This man collects living creatures and rebrands them as a divine menagerie. He starts laughing, calling it his little walled garden and how it's taken on its own life.
That walled garden line gave me the creeps. It's the language of someone who thinks they are creating life, not just imprisoning it. But then he drops the name. He says Hajrudin might acknowledge Luffy, but he never will. That's the moment it clicked for me. This is all connected to the Grand Fleet.
Exactly. It's not a random encounter. It's internal politics. It's about giant pride and a subordinate who disagrees with his captain's decision. This whole thing is an act of protest. We saw this pride in Little Garden with Dory and Brogy, who fought for 100 years over it. We saw it with Oimo and Kashi at Enies Lobby, who were tricked into service because of their pride and loyalty to their captains. For a giant whose entire identity is tied to their strength and honor, swearing fealty to a small human must be a contentious issue.
A really creepy act of protest. It's not just I disagree with the captain. It's I'm going to kidnap the man our captain swore loyalty to and turn him into a toy to prove my point. That is a level of petty that is absolutely off the charts. So the crew reaches a dead end, a mirrored wall. Usopp steps up, which I love to see. He fires off a Midori Boshi Dokuru Bakuhatsu.
It was the right tactical choice. A mirrored surface could be a trick, an illusion, or a weak point. Usopp, as the crew's sniper and trickster, is the perfect person to test it. He doesn't just shoot blindly. He assesses the situation and chooses the right tool for the job. It shows his growth into a confident warrior of the sea.
For sure, he didn't even hesitate. Old Usopp would have been screaming and crying, but this Usopp just steps up and fires. But it only breaks the mirror, not the wall behind it. It was a good attempt, but not quite enough power. A for effort, though.
It served its purpose. It confirmed the nature of the obstacle. It wasn't an illusion. It was a reinforced physical barrier. Usopp's role was reconnaissance by fire. He provided the intel. Now it's time for the heavy hitters.
So Luffy steps up. He's like, my turn, and starts powering up Gear 4th. And the whole time, this sun god dude is just laughing at them, talking about their powerlessness. Oh, that got under my skin. The disrespect. He's looking at the future Pirate King and seeing a bug in a jar.
It clearly got under Nami's. She looked absolutely enraged. You could just feel the pure anger. She tells Usopp how much this guy has pissed her off. This isn't just about being trapped. This is about the fundamental insult to her captain and her crew's freedom.
And Sanji immediately agrees, but for a totally different reason, of course. He's convinced the sun god is a pervert who undressed Nami to put her in that outfit. You gotta love Sanji. He's always on the right page, just reading from a different book. His chivalry is a force of nature all its own.
It's a moment of levity, but it speaks to their dynamic. Nami is enraged by the insult to their freedom and their captain. Sanji is enraged by the perceived insult to Nami's honor. Both are valid forms of loyalty, running in parallel. Nami just calmly tells him to cool down and says the god is due for some divine punishment. She's not just angry, she's ready.
I lost it at divine punishment. Nami is not playing around anymore. You don't mess with her or her captain. This is Weather Witch Nami. This is the woman who can call down lightning from the heavens. When she promises divine punishment, you better believe a storm is coming.
And then it all becomes clear in that flashback, the confirmation of his identity.
The sun god is Road, the navigator for the new giant warrior pirates. It all makes sense now. His size, the connection to Hajrudin, the block world. He's a navigator, so he's an expert at creating and reading maps and environments. This isn't just a prison, it's a twisted three-dimensional map he's created. Wow.
The flashback shows him sending out his raven, Mugen, which finds the Thousand Sunny just adrift. The crew is fast asleep. You know, his raven being named Mugen is so interesting. It reminds me of Norse mythology, where Odin had two ravens, Hugin and Munin, that flew around the world bringing him information. It feels like Road has a similar kind of companion.
The sleeping mist zone. So that's what happened. They just got knocked out by some weird sea phenomenon and were completely helpless. That's terrifying, man. It reminds me of the Sea Kings or the knock-up stream. No matter how strong you become, the Grand Line always has a way of reminding you that you're at its mercy.
It's classic Grand Line weirdness. It also explains why the entire crew isn't here. The ones on the ship were captured. The others must have made it to Elbaph some other way, which begs the question, was the mist localized to just the Sunny, or did it affect a wider area? It's a mystery for now.
And Rhodes sees this as an opportunity, a gift from the sea. He was against Hajrudin, a giant, swearing loyalty to Luffy, a human. He thinks giants are superior, so he just kidnaps them. He doesn't challenge them to a fight to prove his superiority, which is what you'd expect from a warrior race. No, he takes them when they're unconscious. It's cowardly.
It reveals the weakness in his ideology. If he were truly confident in the superiority of giants, he would have faced them head on. Instead, he resorts to subterfuge. He brings them into his set, his little block world. And the most chilling line of the chapter, he gloats about how they'll be his living dolls forever.
That's so messed up. He doesn't want to fight them. He wants to collect them. He wants to put Emperor Monkey D. Luffy on a shelf. That is so much creepier than just wanting to beat him. A fight is a test of strength and will. This is an attempt to deny their will entirely, to turn the freest people on the seas into decorations.
It's the ultimate act of disrespect. He doesn't see them as warriors or people, but as objects for his collection. It's a profound underestimation of who they are. To him, capturing an emperor isn't a conquest. It's adding a rare piece to his display. It's the hobby of a god, or at least someone who sees himself as one.
And he pays for it immediately. Back in the present, while he's still gloating, still lost in his own little world, Nami makes good on her promise. She just points, and Zeus absolutely fries him.
The divine punishment she promised, using her control over the weather to strike down a self-proclaimed god. The irony is perfect. He calls himself the sun god, and he's taken out by a thundercloud. Nami has effectively weaponized Zeus, a former soul fragment of a Yonko, and turned him into her personal enforcer. Her growth is astounding.
It was beautiful. A massive bolt of black and yellow lightning just zaps him. He's completely stunned, just smoking and immobilized. He never even saw it coming. He was so focused on Luffy, on the physical threat, that he completely ignored the weak navigator. Big mistake. Huge. And that's all the opening Luffy needs.
He doesn't even use the full gear fourth. He just inflates his arm. Bound man, but localized. His control over his powers has reached a new level. We saw hints of this in Wano, the mastery of Rio allowing him to project his haki. This is the next step, mastery of his devil fruit. He can apply that immense force exactly where he needs it, without the full body cost or the time limit. It's efficient. It's controlled. It's the mark of a true top-tier fighter.
It's like going from a giant cannon to a sniper rifle that hits like a cannon. He doesn't need the whole transformation because the target is just a wall. All that extra energy would be a waste, so he just pumps up the arm, infuses it with haki, and just punches straight through the wall. Boom, escape. It was so fast, so efficient. Nami sets them up, Luffy knocks them down. Perfect Straw Hat teamwork.
They step through the hole, finally out of the land of gods. Usopp says what we're thinking, hoping that Elbaph is on the other side. You can feel the anticipation from the whole crew. After this strange, claustrophobic detour, they are desperate for open air and the start of the real adventure.
And the last thing we see is Luffy's face. He just looks out and smiles. Not a fighting smile, not a doofy grin, a genuine, wondrous smile. Oh my God, what does he see? It's the kind of smile he had when he saw Laboon, or when he looked over Fishman Island. It's the smile of pure, unadulterated adventure.
He sees the destination, the place he's been hearing about since Little Garden, the land of warriors, of giants, a place of myth and legend. I think we've finally truly arrived. That smile is the culmination of a promise made to Usopp, an ambition born from meeting Dory and Brogy. It's the feeling of a dream becoming reality.
Super. That was just amazing. It answered the mystery, gave us some great crew moments, a power-up, and left us hanging right at the end. I am so hyped. It felt like the perfect way to wrap up that strange place and launch us head first into the real adventure.
It was incredibly satisfying. It recontextualized the entire situation, from a divine threat to a petty obsessive collector, and the Straw Hats dealt with him accordingly. They didn't even treat him like a real boss fight. He was an obstacle, and they overcame him with teamwork and efficiency. It shows how far they've come.
All right, let's do some predictions for what happens next.
I'll go first. My first prediction is what Luffy is smiling at is not just the landscape of Elbaph, but two specific figures waiting for them. It's Dory and Brogy, the reunion that's been years in the making.
I love that. That would be an amazing opening. Okay, my turn. I predict we get a massive, epic view of Elbaph. We see the world tree, the giant halls, everything. It's going to be even bigger and more epic than we've ever imagined.
That feels inevitable. For my second prediction, Road isn't going to be treated as a major villain. Hajrudin will find out what happened and he will be the one to deal with his subordinate. It will be an internal giant affair, and the resolution will be Road being humbled and forced to truly accept Luffy's strength.
Yeah, I can see that. For my second one, Hajrudin is the first person they meet, and he's going to be absolutely furious and embarrassed that what Road did. We're going to get a giant-on-giant conflict, a showdown between the captain and his navigator over this betrayal of trust.
And for my final prediction, we'll get an explanation for the sleeping mist zone. It's not a natural phenomenon, but a deliberate defense mechanism for Elbaph, created by the giants to ward off intruders. We might even learn who created it.
Ooh, a lore drop. Nice. Okay, for my last one, the rest of the crew who weren't on the Sunny, Robin, me, Brook, and Jinbei are already there. The first thing Luffy sees is the rest of us having a massive feast with the other giants, and we've been waiting for them to show up. The party has already started.